Have you noticed recurring patterns in your behavior that seem difficult to control? These patterns often arise from unconscious parts of the psyche, what Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not negative in itself, but when ignored, it influences thoughts, decisions, and actions in hidden ways. In this video, we will examine the 7 shadow archetypes that may be influencing you without your awareness. By identifying them, you can begin the process of integration and transformation. Section 1. Understanding the shadow. The shadow is the part of the personality that contains traits, emotions, and impulses we suppress or deny. These qualities are often rejected because they conflict with how we want to be perceived. Yet suppression does not eliminate them. Instead, they continue to act unconsciously, shaping behavior. Recognizing the shadow is essential because what remains unconscious tends to control us. By bringing it into awareness, we reclaim choice and agency. Shadow archetypes are recurring patterns through which the shadow expresses itself. They are not external entities, but inner dynamics. Let's examine 7 of the most common archetypes. Section 2. The 7 shadow archetypes. 1. The victim. The victim archetype embodies helplessness and the belief that life is unfair or oppressive. It resists responsibility, externalizes blame, and interprets challenges as personal attacks. The hidden motive is protection from accountability, since accountability requires effort and change. The victim archetype thrives in environments where blame can be shifted easily and where external validation reinforces a sense of suffering. At its core, the victim arises from unprocessed feelings of powerlessness, often linked to early experiences of being ignored, dismissed, or genuinely overpowered. Instead of developing resilience, the psyche forms a defensive identity around helplessness. This archetype limits growth by creating a fixed narrative that change is impossible. Integration requires practicing responsibility and shifting focus from external causes to internal responses. By reframing difficulties as challenges to be faced rather than injustices to be endured, the victim transforms into resilience and perseverance. 2. The Saboteur. The Saboteur undermines progress by delaying, doubting, or destroying opportunities. It prevents success through procrastination, hesitation, or self-sabotage. The underlying drive is fear of success, fear of failure, or fear of visibility. Success implies responsibility, exposure, and potential loss. So the saboteur intervenes to keep things familiar. This archetype often reveals itself when progress is imminent. The moment of breakthrough triggers resistance, leading to excuses, errors, or withdrawal. The psyche prefers the safety of the known, even if it means losing opportunities. By staying small, the saboteur avoids the risk of change. Integration involves identifying fears, acknowledging them, and gradually building confidence by committing to consistent action. Awareness of avoidance patterns paired with deliberate practice of follow-through weakens the grip of the saboteur and transforms it into discipline and courage. 3. The Controller. The controller archetype seeks certainty by dominating circumstances and people. It avoids unpredictability and vulnerability by imposing order and control. This tendency can create rigidity, anxiety, and strained relationships. The controller is motivated by the unconscious belief that safety only exists when everything is under personal command. The psychological root of this archetype is fear of chaos and betrayal. If others are unpredictable, the controller attempts to neutralize the threat by assuming authority over every detail. While it may create temporary stability, it prevents trust and genuine connection. Integration involves practicing trust, releasing attachment to outcomes, and allowing natural processes to unfold. Developing tolerance for uncertainty and relinquishing micromanagement shifts this archetype into healthy leadership and adaptability. 4. The people pleaser. The people pleaser prioritizes approval over authenticity. It sacrifices personal needs to maintain harmony or acceptance, often leading to exhaustion and resentment. This archetype is driven by fear of rejection or abandonment and can dominate decision-making without conscious awareness. The root lies in conditional experiences of love or acceptance, where worth was tied to compliance. The psyche learned that being agreeable ensured safety, while assertiveness risked disapproval. Over time, this pattern suppresses individuality and fosters dependency on external validation. Integration requires learning to set boundaries, affirming one's needs, and recognizing that worth is not dependent on how others respond. As this archetype is integrated, the pleaser transforms into authenticity and balanced relationships built on mutual respect. 5. The addict. The addict archetype manifests as dependency on substances, activities, or repeated patterns that numb discomfort. It avoids unresolved emotions through escape mechanisms, whether through consumption, distraction, or compulsive behaviors. Although the form may differ, food, technology, substances, relationships, the function is consistent, avoidance of inner pain. The psychological basis of the addict is the inability to sit with discomfort or emptiness. Instead of processing unresolved feelings, the psyche creates repetitive coping patterns that provide short-term relief at long-term cost. This archetype restricts growth by preventing authentic confrontation with pain. Integration involves cultivating awareness of triggers, tolerating discomfort, and gradually replacing destructive habits with constructive practices. When acknowledged and redirected, the addict archetype transforms into self-discipline and deeper presence. 6. The judge. The judge is the voice of harsh self-criticism and external condemnation. It enforces rigid standards and often erodes confidence. The judge can appear as relentless comparison, perfectionism, or projection of criticism onto others. It develops through internalized voices of authority or experiences of judgment. At its root, the judge attempts to maintain control by keeping the psyche aligned with external standards. Its aim is protection from rejection or failure, but its method is attack through criticism. This results in inner conflict, paralysis, and resentment. Integration requires self-compassion and balanced evaluation. Instead of destructive criticism, the energy of discernment can be redirected toward constructive growth. When transformed, the judge archetype becomes the discerner, capable of learning, refining, and improving without hostility. 7. The trickster. The trickster archetype uses distraction, avoidance, and misdirection to escape vulnerability. It hides behind sarcasm, humor, or manipulation to avoid authenticity. While it may protect the psyche from discomfort, it prevents honest self-reflection and genuine connection. The trickster often emerges when truth feels overwhelming. It deflects by minimizing issues, changing focus, or concealing reality. Though this reduces tension in the moment, it creates long-term disconnection from both self and others. Integration requires honesty and willingness to face reality without distortion. Through reflection and openness, the trickster transforms into adaptability and creativity, maintaining flexibility without abandoning authenticity. Section 3. Why these archetypes matter. Recognizing these archetypes matters because unconscious patterns shape perception, decisions, and relationships. They operate like hidden scripts, directing behavior without awareness. Once identified, they lose their silent dominance. The objective is not elimination, but transformation. Each archetype contains valuable energy: resilience from the victim, courage from the saboteur, leadership from the controller, authenticity from the pleaser, discipline from the addict, discernment from the judge, and creativity from the trickster. Section 4. Practical steps for Shadow Work 1. Awareness. Notice recurring thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Identify which archetype is active. 2. Reflection. Journal about when and how these patterns emerge. 3. Dialogue. Acknowledge the archetype consciously. Recognize its role in protection or defense. 4. Integration. Shift from suppression to acceptance. Find constructive ways to express the underlying energy. 5. Support. Work with therapy, coaching, or self-study practices to deepen awareness in transformation. 6. Consistency. Repeat the process regularly to build familiarity with your patterns and reduce unconscious influence. These are the 7 shadow archetypes that may be influencing your life without your awareness. The victim, the saboteur, the controller, the people pleaser, the addict, the judge, and the trickster are not enemies. They are parts of the psyche awaiting acknowledgement. By bringing them into consciousness, you reduce their hidden control and transform them into sources of strength. The path of integration is not instant, but it is transformative. Through awareness, reflection, and practice, the shadow becomes not a source of sabotage, but a reservoir of potential. The choice to integrate begins with recognition, and recognition begins now.